My name is Anthony Cetera. I want to speak to you for a bit about a technology we did sort of stumble on. It's our company's called Camtech. We do nano spray-on antenna material. So the way this began, let me start over from it. So if you take a typical device, a wireless phone or a radio, whatever it is that you have in your hand, can you imagine being able to have a device that's already being manufactured that could transmit twice as far with the same amount of power, or transmit with the same footprint using only half the power? Now, can you imagine for a minute that same device being able to transmit from the depths of the oceans to outer space with effortlessly transmitting between themselves? Also, think about a highway. If you go down the road and you have a painted stripe on the highway, and have broadband connectivity connected to your vehicle as you run down the highway through a bunch of array of antennas. So enabling all that technology is a nanotechnology with a bunch of spray-on particles. So next slide, please. So imagine getting rid of the ugly cell sites and the microwave towers that you see cluttering the landscape, getting them to blend into space, into the buildings and the greenery. No more ugly sites. You could paint on the walls. You could paint cell towers. Do anything you'd like with that. So I want to talk for a little bit about where this all came from. My vision for our company was to create a conformal antenna for special operations. I have a business partner, and he came to me with a problem. He said, you know, when I had my job and when I was in the theater, I couldn't transport antennas, I couldn't transmit, I couldn't hide them, conceal them. Do we have a solution for that? So I went to the drawing board and come up with a technology that would allow what I thought would be a 75% solution to the problem. An antenna that could transmit maybe as well as a standard antenna, or if it didn't, it could save their butt in a pinch. So we were asked by the government to try our technology out in the field, and this literally is the first picture of the first test we ever did. We went out in the field, applied this antenna to a tree, we transmitted on it, and we had a government team test the results from it. They came back to us and said, hey, this thing is working better, much better than our standard antenna, which they had a very good standard antenna as a baseline. So I said, well, that's great, but let's try it again and make sure that we really know what's going on. So they asked us back the next day. We came back out. They replicated the test. Not only did we get the same good results, they computated the results, and we were in the order of magnitude better than their best antenna that they transmitted on. So this is when everything shifted for us. So I want to talk a little bit about history for a minute. 120 years ago, Tesla and Marconi had created their first radio system, and it used a wire as an antenna, a copper wire. So the copper wire that was used 120 years ago basically is the same type of technology we use now on almost every mainstream radio device, from cell phones to wireless routers to everything. It's a piece of wire. It's either coiled up or it's pointed, directed, or set up in an array. It's the same technology. So the issue with that is, if you've ever been around an antenna, say on a cop car, when you transmit on it, it gets extremely hot. So if there's a lot of heat coming out of the antenna, what does that tend to tell us? The antenna is not very efficient. If you go up to a cop car, even after they're done transmitting, within a few seconds, you put your hand on the antenna and it'll burn the hell out of you. So we understand that antenna was not very efficient. Also, a lot of people have researched putting other type of metals on a copper conductor to try to dissipate the heat. They're also, the only other way to turn the power up is what we call the brute force method, which is a bigger wire, a thicker wire, or putting more power through it. Like I say, everything that leads to that path shows that, you know, we're getting some signal out, but it's certainly not very efficient. So what we've done is kind of came up with a whole different way of thinking about this. We're doing what we call the wireless antenna. So our material uses thousands and thousands of nano capacitors that we were able to actually spray paint on. We've come up with a material that when you spray it on, it lays out just in the right pattern, and all these little capacitors charge and discharge extremely quickly in real time, and they don't create any heat. On a copper wire, the surface area of the wire, you have the AC charge or AC signal going back and forth, and they're fighting to get off the material. A capacitor is very efficient if energy is flowing through it very quickly. So when we hook up our material to a radio, the signal hops from capacitor to capacitor very quickly, and then finds its happy spot and launches into space. I want to show you a few examples of what we've done with our technology. These are actual pictures from different events we've worked on, or different projects we've worked on within some of our government customers. So this is a tree antenna we painted on. Within 5 minutes, we had this connected and transmitting on VHF to an airplane 14 miles overhead. Double the range we could get from a standard antenna on the ground. This is a airplane that simulates a UAV payload. It was transmitting a VHF comm link and also a microwave data link. They had 2 antennas that were mounted on this plane, standard antennas. We simply painted ours on a piece of tape onto the bottom of the platform. We were able to get 300% better range out of both of those links. This is a little VHF ground station we made on the fly for you California highway folks. It worked very effectively as well. This is a very interesting slide and a very important slide. This is a 1 milliwatt RFID tag. What you can see on the sides of it, you can see our material applied on the edges of it. That material actually was placed over a standard antenna that was already on the tag. The people at this event could only get the tag to transmit 5 feet. They had a larger milliwatt tag that had burned up, and they were doing an experiment where they wanted an aircraft to read the tag on the ground. We actually were able to make that thing go from 5 to 700 feet, so it was a monumental event. Excellent. We did a test on an iPhone. I hate to say that in here, but it was an iPhone. What you can see in the picture actually is the standard antenna in the third generation iPhone. We painted it over that antenna, and we put it in an anechoic chamber. A Faraday cage, and was able to seal it off and transmit a simulated phone call, and then measure the dBm coming off the standard antenna and the antenna with our material applied. We had an increase of 20 dBm over the standard antenna. What we did last, which is one of the most exciting things we've done in our recent endeavor, was we did a test for a group of folks to test how well our material transmitted underwater. And we didn't have much of an expectation of this. We took 2 standard antennas, put them down 20 feet in seawater, and drove out. We were able to transmit 100 feet at 50 megahertz on 2 standard military antennas. We put our antennas under the water, drove out, and we actually were able to transmit 1 nautical mile underwater. We went so far that we actually lost our guy out in the water. We had our laser rangefinder going, and that was actually our last spot where we could find him, so we stopped the test at that point, or we may actually have gone out a little bit further. So what we're talking about is a profound way of thinking, a whole paradigm change on antenna technology. And what we'd like to think about is ways we can enable wireless connectivity anywhere. We would envision changing the device, all the antennas in the devices, as well as the infrastructure side. So putting paintable antennas on the wall and becoming cell sites or micronodes at any size level you can imagine. We're also talking about being able to gather energy out of the atmosphere with this material. We've had some preliminary success already, being able to funnel what we think in the future would be enough power to power up a small node. So can you imagine having cell sites painted on the walls that power themselves? We also are working with some other concepts where we feel like we can improve the windings of electric motors and the efficiency of that, and also the possibility of actually improving some efficiency on the power grids as well with the technology. So we're really, really excited about where we're going. Like I said, we didn't plan on this working as well as it did, and we're very happy we came up with a formulation that works very effectively. We'd love to collaborate with anybody in this group. I met some phenomenal people on this trip, and if anybody has any ideas or would like to collaborate on anything, I'd be happy to talk to you. Appreciate your time, and thank you for everybody.
Let us define X. X is a solution to a seemingly insurmountable problem, like climate change or cancer, one that affects the world. But what if we redefine X as a challenge, an opportunity for radical thinking, a chance to light up the world with breakthrough ideas and cutting-edge technology, the stuff of science fiction that just might fly after all. Solving for X requires wonder and imagination and the vision to build seemingly impossible solutions to the world's biggest problems. Solve for X. Moonshot thinking.